Happy New Year, everyone. It's finally 2025, the year of the snake, which means it's officially been 6 months since Zenless Zone Zero has released. These first few months of Zenless have been nothing more short of greatness as we continue to see more and more patches come to the game, transforming it into a product that's better than what most of us thought it would ever be. That's because of the amazing development team implementing all these great changes, and because of the great community we built to provide the feedback this game truly needs. I want to thank all you guys for being a part of this community and not only supporting the game, but also the creators within the space, because if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be here. I remember before Zenless released, there was so much negativity going on within the space, and I was one of the few content creators actually covering the game back in its beta days. But to now see that the game is flourishing and transforming into such a great product now, especially with the release of 1.4, I can't be any happier. We have an exciting future that awaits Zenless as we approach its first year, but before we even talk about that, I want to reflect on how these 6 months have gone to show you guys how this game has really transformed over the course of time, while also providing you guys a 6-month recap / sort of a review for Zenless Zone Zero. If you're new here, what's good guys? I'm Sol, and here's my thoughts on Zenless Zone Zero 6 months later. Alright, I think the perfect way to go about this is to talk about all the issues that players had when Zenless Zone Zero originally released and how they were all fixed and improved for the better. For our first issue, the early game of Zenless was a very dry and rough experience, making it unenjoyable for some new players. This was mostly due to the high level requirements blocking off key features and game modes, combat feeling repetitive, and endless TV missions. All of this has been fixed or received some form of change, and how they did this is that level requirements to unlock new features when progressing in the early game of Zenless has been lowered. This allows new players to get access to the content that a lot of us existing players have been enjoying a lot faster. I've always admitted that the early game of Zenless was a slog with how it was paced and a little bit of content you had access to due to the meat and potatoes of gacha games lying in the end game. So the faster that players can get to the end game, the better. They've also removed a lot of the TV missions in the story and the game as a whole, while also providing a new Bang Boo traversal mode, giving players the option to either play with TVs or with this new mode. This was the greatest implementation to the game and has drastically shortened the time to complete early game content as well. Keep in mind though that TV mode still exists for exploration content, but it's optional for the most part. I wanted to make sure I clarified that because there's been this huge misconception going on with the TV changes of Zenless that a lot of players have been saying that it's completely gone, and that's not true. A good chunk of it has been removed, a lot of it has been revamped and replaced with the Bang Boo experience, but there is a decent amount that's still available within the game, specifically as side content. Now when it comes to the combat, the repetitiveness in the early game is felt due to the AI not really fighting back. This is something that a lot of people spoke about when the game initially released, especially within week 1, and they have made some slight tweaks to the AI overall, but I believe this is still an issue in the early game because they want difficulties to slowly ramp up as you progress through the game. All of the challenging content is saved for in-game, so honestly the progression changes that they made to speed up early game should alleviate this repetitive issue a bit while bringing you to the most enjoyable aspect of Zenless a lot faster. Facing these issues alone completely overhauls the experience that most players had during the initial release of the game. This is something that they started tackling as early as 1.1 for Zenless, but now with 1.4 all the drastic changes have been completely realized. Because of this, I think Zenless is in a great state now and provides an amazing casual experience for most players that enjoy gacha, and especially for players that enjoy HoYoverse games. But funny enough, the dev team didn't want to stop there. They have been very adamant about their dedication to making this the best game they possibly can. So in order to get closer to that goal, they even made great changes to the combat as well. The combat of Zenless lacked depth to a lot of players. They believe that the game lacked a lot of expression through the combat system, and that the easy difficulty paired with it resulted into a very boring gameplay experience. Well, the Zenless team heard players' feedbacks, and over the course of multiple updates to the game, they actually touched on all of these issues, but in different ways. For starters, the difficulty of the game has continued to increase every patch, but players need to understand that Zenless will never be this Dark Souls difficulty that I think some players are looking for. This just isn't that type of game, and it never will be. What the developers have done with the difficulty though is that they've made enemies a lot more active, increased the amount of damage that they deal, and they even added unique modifiers on some of the in-game content that allows you to remove attack indicators and applying debuffs or buffs to both the enemies and you the player, so that you have leeway to make the content a bit more difficult however you please. This has been a great step in the right direction for the game because it makes it a lot more engaging to play and interesting to watch. When it comes to character depth, the dev team has introduced a lot of characters that have very unique combat mechanics in comparison to a lot of the 1.0 characters. Doing so actively shows the player base that they are willing to make character kits a lot more intricate and exciting to play. I do wish this level of kit design could be applied to older units in the future, but the likelihood of something like that happening is pretty low. Or is it? I'll actually talk more about that in a future video. But I will say they made a system-wide change to the decibel system, which does affect the overall value of older units as well. In 1.4, characters can now build decibels independently, allowing players to have 3 ultimates for their team. This change has allowed the gameplay of Zenless to be a lot more explosive and exciting, making the combat finally feel complete. This was a change that I was originally reluctant on because I was afraid that it would actually harm the strides that they have made to improve the depth of the game, but so far I've been proven wrong. My worry with this change is that it was going to bring the combat a lot closer to how Genshin is played, and I don't think Zenless needs to go that route. I want this to be the combat game out of HoYo, so it playing like Genshin just wouldn't be ideal for it to be a lot more expansive and expressive. And again, I'm just happy to say that it feels like this actual change hasn't taken the combat in that direction. Oh, I almost forgot. They also implemented manual chain attacks and chain attack cancels very early on within the game's life as well. This gave players the freedom to trigger chain attacks when they were ready and even cancel the chain attack sequences whenever they wanted to. This opened up the combat so much, providing players more freedom on how they wanted to manipulate the combat system, which even resulted into better rotations for characters. The combination of all these changes has allowed Zenless to now have a very engaging and refined combat system that I believe a lot of players will enjoy. Just like the changes they made for the TV system, the dev team continues to show that they are willing to go above and beyond to please their player base, even if it means making huge changes that could take up a lot of development time and resources. I hope they continue to have this mindset when it comes to changes in the future so that they can continue to expand upon the combat even more. But for now, I think the changes that they made are really good and has finally landed the combat experience for Zenless in a really good spot. And funny enough, that's essentially all the issues that most people had when it came to Zenless. It wasn't a lot, but these issues impacted 90% of players' experiences, so they definitely needed to handle this as soon as they could. I would say the rate that these changes were implemented over the course of 6 months, the team actually did a really good job of getting this out in a timely manner, because you were able to see that all of these changes were being slowly implemented per patch, and once we finally got to 1.4, you can see that all the hard work that they put into making Zenless a much better game was finally realized within 1.4. Also, during this time, they made sure to remain vocal with the community, which really showed us that they were actually listening to our feedback, which is really rare when it comes to development teams in the gaming space in general. So to see that the Zenless team is one of those devs that's willing to communicate with us and use our feedback and actually add implementations based on our feedback is a great thing to see. Now, even though that they resolved majority of the issues that a large amount of players were complaining about, they didn't stop there. They even implemented some changes that nobody even really asked for, but we are definitely thankful that they did. They did things like simplify menus to help speed up the process of building characters and farming for materials. They implemented team presets, providing in-game plans that tell players how to build their characters and the amount of resources they need to do so. Implemented more training mode options to assist with learning new characters and team rotations. And they even changed the HoYoverse Zero in-game format to help shorten the weekly grind while introducing new in-game modes to play and so much more. This team has done a lot to make Zenless a much more enjoyable gaming experience now, and I hope they continue to strive to make it an even stronger product throughout its life. I love Zenless and everything that they have done so far with the game. It's far from perfect, but I definitely think it's one of the best gachas that you can play on the market right now, and it's potentially the best gacha game under the HoYoverse umbrella. Some of you may disagree, but I don't care. I'ma just let my biasness show today. So if you've been waiting to check out Zenless Zone Zero since its initial release or wanted to jump back into the game, definitely give it a chance. This game has an amazing story that is told through very compelling characters in a really cool and episodic way. The presentation of the game is top of the line with its overall design and style, and the content that is available is just super fun. I honestly think this is the perfect gacha to get into, no matter if you're new to the gacha space or you've been playing for years. There's something here for everyone to sink their teeth into, so all I ask is that you just give it a chance. I don't think you'll regret it. Now, before I end this video, I not only want to talk about the things that they have changed and improved upon within the game, I also want to discuss some more changes and improvements that I would like to see in the future. First up, I would love it if we got agent build presets. Since there are multiple disk drive sets and W engines for characters to use, I think think having an option to save presets for characters would help out a lot. This removes the need to cycle through inventories and allow us to easily swap gear on, off, and even between characters. We need more training mode settings that allow us to control unique character mechanics like Lighter's morale burst gauge, Miyabi's fallen frost stacks, etc. This will make labbing character rotations a lot easier, making it easier for players to understand how to properly play their agents a lot better. We also need the ability to see when status effects are applied to enemies in training. Currently, we can see when they are applied to our agents, but not when they are applied to enemies. The grind to build characters also need to be improved. I feel like it takes forever to get all the resources that you need to build characters sometimes, so maybe lowering the resource requirements needed to farm characters and provide us a feature that allows to reroll substats on our disk drives will be great. I believe that reroll feature is something that they recently added into either Star Rail or Genshin, so definitely bring that system over here if that's true. We would absolutely love that. And lastly, improve the game stability. It seems that the more patches we get, the more unstable the game is slowly becoming. This is something that I've noticed with my game, as well as other players has reached out to me saying that that's their experience as well on different platforms. Personally, I get slight hiccups here and there that I never received before. It's mostly the game lagging at times, but it's not super bothersome right now. I just imagine that if it isn't addressed in the future, this could become a bigger issue for more players down the line. So just continue to optimize the game performance. This is something that I believe that just generally happens when you patch a game. So as long as they're mindful about this, I'm sure this will subside and go away pretty soon. And that's everything regarding this recap slash mini review slash wish list for Zenless. I know it's a lot, but it lets you guys know how I feel about the game currently, if you should get into it, and what I expect from this game for the future. I hope all the changes I've mentioned before help you guys realize how much this game has improved since 1.0, and I hope that some of the improvements I want for the game myself gets implemented down the road. It's important to me that this game continues to grow and improve upon its content and core gameplay. This will just result in a much better game for all of us, which will in return provide us a much more enjoyable gaming experience. If you guys want to provide any of your own feedback though, be sure to leave it in the comments below, because I would love to hear how you guys feel currently about the game with this 6-month progression and what you would like to see coming from the game in the future. There's a lot more topics that we couldn't cover here, but I want to cover in future videos on the channel, so definitely stay tuned and leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Overall, Zenless right now is definitely a solid 9 out of 10 experience. I believe around release it was about a 6.5 or a 7, so that should let you know that the overall improvements that they made to the game so far have been pretty drastic and well received. Again, the game is in a great state right now, so definitely give it a chance. But that's everything for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Again, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and always remember to believe in you that believes in yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one.